Mr. Falls. Ugh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, I want to say thanks. You're real good. You really hooked me up. Thanks. We're almost there. Once I prove that you committed the crime. Yeah, but there's one more big obstacle we've got to get past. Obstacle? Yeah, motive. Why would Melissa Foster kill that policewoman anyway? Motive, huh? Anyway, we're still badly in need of information. Information? Right. What we need the most is info about this Melissa Foster herself. All we know is that she's a student studying literature. And one more thing. What is it? Well, the incident that happened 5 years ago, of course. The kidnapping murder case that Zebra Boy is on death row for. I didn't do nothing, I didn't kill nobody, I never lie. Mr. Falls, in that case, tell us more about it. About what happened 5 years ago. Okay, I trust you. That day, 5 years ago, I dream of it every day. This picture, it reminds me everything. Bridge looks same, just like then, 5 years ago. Like it could fall apart any minute. So it's been broken like that for at least 5 years. Sorry, buddy, but you sound like the one that could fall apart at any minute. It's true, I did. I did kidnap her. 5 years ago, I kidnapped my girlfriend, Dahlia Hawthorne. Your girlfriend? Huh? Hey, hold on there. Did you say Hawthorne? The victim's last name. Dahlia Hawthorne, Valerie's little sister. What? Are you serious? The detective back then was Valerie Hawthorne. Wasn't it already known? At first I thought shooting someone for a kidnapping was crossing the line, but if it was to protect her little sister, I can understand why she did it. Okay, maybe it's just me, but I don't think that would be too much. Whenever I go or see a chase scene on a TV show or anything like that, the police is always like, freeze or stop! And I'm always thinking like, don't tell them what to do, just take your pistol and shoot them in the kneecaps. Incapacitate them, you're not shooting to kill them. And you are in every right to stop them in any ways possible from running away so you can interrogate them. So, really? Yeah. Shoot them in the kneecaps or the elbows. Anything to make them stop. Wrong. No, protect sister. Valia betrayed me. Betray us. What do you mean she betrayed you? Everything. All lies. All make-believe. Kidnapping too. A make-believe kidnapping? Dahlia, my girlfriend, my love, my teen angel. Ugh, did he actually say my teen angel? He's seen one too many soap operas. I do anything she asks, anything Dahlia says. Anything Dahlia says? Hold on a minute. What you're saying is that the kidnapping 5 years ago was planned by... Yeah, me and Dahlia. And Valerie too. Valerie was in on it? Dahlia's family rich. Jewel business. We get one jewel. That's what we thought. Me and Dahlia wrote kidnap note. We sent to her dad. Asked for $2 million diamond. I'll make exchange on Dusky Bridge. We tell him about Dolly. Which one are we talking about here? Yes, Valerie. We tell him Valerie made transfer cause she knew a detective. Having a police detective in your pocket is a useful thing, alright. In the end, you were planning on splitting the 2 million 3 ways, huh? Yeah, but that woman... That woman, Valerie, she'd do it for real. She'd shoot at me for real. Me and Dahlia. I was shot in arm. Dahlia, she'd jump in river. Jump? You don't mean she jumped on purpose, do you? I couldn't do it. I could never push her. Anyway, I blacked out. Wake up with police all over. And that's when they decided to give you the death sentence. I couldn't believe it. That woman. She betrayed me. That man, Terry Falls, he killed her. He threw her off the bridge. He threw my beloved sister into the roaring river 40 feet below. These 5 years, all I wonder is, why? Why? Why does she lie? That's all I want to know. So that's why you called her. You wanted to hear the truth from Valerie herself. Yes, but I forget what you look like, so I told her to wear a scarf. Okay, this I don't quite understand. You'd think a guy who got such a shock, S sounds are terrible, got a shock from this, and has spent the last 5 years thinking of that happening and that incident over and over, would sort of get a burned image of her face in his head. I don't want to hurt her. Just ask why. Why? Why did you lie? Why did you betray me? I just want to hear answer come from her mouth, that's all. So that's why you made a crazy escape like that. Just one thing, zebra boy. My senses are tingling all over. Tell me, Mr. Falls, where is it? Huh? Where's what? Come on now, kitten. The ransom. The $2 million diamond. Remember that now? Did you give it back to Pops? Did the police take it? I don't know. Huh? You don't know? No, really. I don't know. It's gone with Dahlia. With Dahlia? That day on the bridge. Dahlia put it in backpack. Now gone with Dahlia. Gone. Forever. Into Eagle River. It disappeared with Dahlia, huh? Wait a minute! You can come back in now. We're about ready to go. Mr. Falls, just one more question. When you said with Dahlia, do you mean the diamond is still missing? Along with the body of Dahlia Hawthorne? Never found her, my sweet Dahlia. They never found her. Swallowed by river, gone. Dahlia, my teen angel. Your teen angel? How old was she anyway? Just 14. 14? I guess they were robbing cradles before diamonds. She plans a fake kidnapping and disappears into the river with a rock worth 2 mil. Man, oh man. Angels these days. Falls took the fall and gets a one-way ticket to death row. Is Dahlia Hawthorne an angel or is she really a manipulative bitch? It's time, kitten. Looks like we have a few more aces up our sleeve now. You bet! Training wheels come off now, Mia. You've got to strike while the iron is hot. That's one of my rules. remember it. You know, I don't think the game has to give us any more hints that Diego Armando is Godot. It's really not that difficult to figure out. Now then, let's continue with the trial of Mr. Terry Falls. Witness, are you feeling better? Yes, Your Honor. I'll try my best. You're a brave young lady. Not this again. I can understand the defense lawyer wanted to get her client off the hook. However, to try to pin the crime on an innocent student. What are you talking about? My witness is not the person on trial here. She's an innocent bystander who witnessed a violent crime. That's all. What possible reason would a girl like this have for murdering a policewoman? It's certainly hard to imagine this woman as a murderer. Her motive? I figured that's what I had to establish next. Well, Miss Faye, do you have any evidence of a motive? Yes, of course, I think. You're still acting as tame as a kitten. A lawyer is someone who smiles, no matter how bad it gets. Smiling on the outside while your guts are twisted in knots is the mark of a pro. Maybe so, but I wish you would quit grinning at me like that. Excuse me, may I speak, Mr. Judge? Of course! Mr. Judge is ready anytime you like. I'd like to say something. Some people here are suspicious of me, right? That's why. I at least wanted you, Mr. Judge, to know that it's not true. I see. You're such an honest and upstanding young lady. It looks like this witness is a real professional. What do you mean? Look at that 100-watt smile. Just when things are darkest for her, click, she lights right up. Very well then, let's hear what the witness has to say. I was out of the country until the year before last. Until I entered college, I had never even been to Eagle Mount before. And I certainly don't have any reason for wanting to hurt a police officer. Holding a grudge and killing the officer who testified about you 5 years ago. Kidnapping a poor girl. I just think the defendant is a terrible, horrible monster. Out of the country, eh? Precisely. Furthermore, she has no possible motive for committing murder. Indeed. You're up to bat, kitten. Sharpen those claws and put on your best smile. My claws will rip your earrings out. You bet! Somehow I have to tie her to this case. So, what country were you living in then? We were all living abroad, but after my parents were killed... It was a brutal civil war. She had to try to make her way back home alone. I lost everything. I didn't even have any personal identification. What kind of sob story is this? You know, it's the typical kind of sob story you get for practically every villain these days, so no need to sound shocked. Should I press her for details? Witness, answer my question. I'll even repeat it for you. What country were you in? Your Honor, this line of questioning is childish. What country she was in and how many languages she may speak are irrelevant here. What we're here to evaluate is whether this witness has any connection to this case. I've lived abroad ever since I was a little girl. That's why I could never have known Mr. Falls or Detective Hawthorne. Yes, I think we've established that point. Indeed. Well then, shall we add what you've just stated to the official testimony? Yes, please, Mr. Judge. You didn't know either person? Are you certain of that? Yes. I'm afraid I'm rather shy around people. Oh well, that can't be helped.
Why is he just agreeing with everything that comes out of her mouth?
The first time you saw either of them was when they were on the bridge, correct?
Yes, it really was a coincidence.
So what made you decide to go to Eagle Mountain anyway?
I just love being outdoors. Picnics, hiking, you know, that sort of thing.
You don't look like much of a hiker to me, but you do look like a digger of sorts. But Eagle Mountain is a 2-hour drive from here and no trains run through there. There are plenty of mountains that are closer and easier to get to.
Well, I went there once with the college hiking club. I fell in love with its stark, desolate beauty and its cold yet romantic gloominess.
Didn't know you were such a goth. By the way, what's the name of your college? The prosecution objects to any questions that involve the witness's private life. All that matters is that she is a material witness to a crime. The witness doesn't need to respond to questions that are clearly malicious in intent.
Thank you. She's really gone too far.
Miss Faye, you're treating on thin ice here. I hardly said anything. Talk about sensitive. Perhaps, but your behavior that day was very suspicious. Not only have you contradicted yourself here in court, but you know things you shouldn't. For example, the scratches on the trunk of the car.
Well, that's...
Unfortunately, Miss Faye, your last statement proves nothing. Oh, really? And why is that? The witness came to the police station once to identify the suspect. It's entirely possible that, at that time, an officer showed her this photo. That seems like a rather serious mistake. That's the oldest trick in the prosecutor's book. That's not fair!
That wicked inmate. I'll never be able to forget that horrible day.
A grudge?
Well, the policewoman's testimony was crucial, wasn't it? Crucial in getting the defendant sentenced to death.
Yes, and that's precisely why he harbored such deep anger against her. So much anger that he forgot his own guilt. My client has always maintained that he's innocent of those charges.
He seems rather forgetful. Your client, I mean. Not only did he forget about what he did, but he forgot the poor policewoman as well.
What do you mean by that?
Your client. He forgot what the defendant looked like, right? It's too bad for her that he didn't forget about her testimony as well.
Well, she's right about that. Mr. Falls is kind of forgetful. You said he forgot what the defendant detective looked like. What do you mean by that?
Well, he couldn't tell who she was without some kind of identification, right?
Quite right. That's why the victim was wearing a scarf as identification.
Why, if I had been wearing a white scarf that day, then he probably would have tried to kill me.
That's true. He's clearly a bitter man. This is bad. Mr. Falls' reputation just keeps getting worse and worse. Sometimes it's best to not poke too deep. What should I do with that last statement? Your Honor, what the witness just said now was tremendously important. I'd like it added to the official testimony. The prosecution has no objection. After all, the defendant is a killer, and a mentally unbalanced one at that. The testimony only helps to further prove that point. No, that's not what I... Witness, if you would.
My pleasure, Mr. Judge.
It's true Mr. Falls did give instructions to Valerie Hawthorne about their meeting. The note that she left said, "Wear white scarf for identification." Yes? What about it? Isn't it obvious? Doesn't it strike you as odd? That note was a secret piece of evidence. How is it that the witness knows about it? It is odd, isn't it? Well, Mr. Edgeworth, did you show top secret evidence to the witness? Your Honor, I certainly never gave anyone permission to do such a thing. In that case, the only way the witness could have known about the note...
Just a moment. Of course I don't know about the note. It's just, I saw it when it happened, with my own eyes. When the victim went to see the killer, she used her own scarf to signal him. That's why I assumed that the signal was a white scarf.
I suppose that makes sense.
Come on, Nia, you can't let her weasel out of it that easily.
Witness? Sorry, but your explanation isn't going to work here.
But why? It's true, that's what I saw.
Impossible. There's no way you could have seen the victim use a white scarf to signal him. You said several times in your testimony that the victim was wearing a scarf. A white scarf, correct?
Yes. Is something wrong?
That's what I'd like to know, Miss Foster. Have a look at this. It's the victim's scarf. I'm sure people would disagree about what to call this color. However, it certainly is not white. You knew what the note said. She knew the contents of the note? It says, wear white scarf for identification. That's the reason why you said it was white. Well, Miss Foster, I'd like to point out, how could Dahlia make this mistake considering she was the one wearing the freaking scarf in the photo? How could she have not known that her stepsister was wearing a blue scarf at that point? Or had one with her? I'm quite sure this note wasn't leaked to the public. And yet, this witness knew exactly what the note said. At the time of the murder, the number of people that knew were quite limited. Terry Falls is one, the person who wrote the note, Beverly Hawthorne, is another. And finally, one more person. Did you say one more person? Please stop using this background music, it really irritates me because it reminds me of Case 2-4. That's right, a person that no one would have suspected. Have you figured it out, kitten? Yes! The third person that knew the contents of the note was... I think they will use this profile photo in the next case too. And that person is Dahlia Hawthorne. Dahlia Hawthorne? I've never heard that name before. Look at the victim's note. This is what it says. Talk to Dahlia. Tell her this time. There's her name right there. What's this? So is this person this Dahlia Hawthorne? Miss Fay must be desperate if she's trying to bring the dead back to life. The dead? Dahlia Hawthorne was the victim's deceased younger sister. She was killed in a crime 5 years ago. Killed in a crime? You don't mean... Yes, she was kidnapped and killed by Terry Falls. Stop that hand gesture, it looks really stupid. You said she was killed, but was she really? What are you implying? Of course, people thought she had died 5 years ago, when she fell off of Dusky Bridge and was lost in the Eagle River. However, her corpse was never found. Oh, I just got a... email notification. Somebody bought something off of my Amazon. That is wonderful. Thank God I didn't sell those DVDs yet.
Great.
She was declared legally dead 5 years ago. As far as the law is concerned, Dahlia Hawthorne is officially dead. But the fact remains that her body was never recovered. Dahlia Hawthorne was 14 years old 5 years ago. If she were still alive, she would be 19 now. Melissa Foster, I believe that's the same age you are. Oh, come on, that's kind of stupid. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I wanted to get an envelope and prepare to send off that thing that was being sold, but yes, again, this is kind of a stupid reason. It's like, wow, this witness's age is the same as somebody who would be that age. It's kind of a stupid reason. It's like saying, hey, I'm almost 24. That must mean I'm Phoenix Wright. Because we have a similar age. Even you couldn't. Miss Faye, you're not saying. But I am. That's precisely what I'm saying. This witness before us is the girl that was kidnapped and killed 5 years ago. This girl is in fact Miss Dahlia Hawthorne. What? Nice work. That was like tossing a grenade into a 3-alarm fire. But unless you can tie all the loose ends together, you're nothing but a hit-and-run arsonist. I understand. If I can expose her true nature, I can turn this whole case on its head. Now's my chance to make Mr. Edwards squirm. I like seeing my men squirm. Witness? Just who are you anyway? I didn't think it'd come this far. That's enough. You don't have to say any more, witness.
Yes, I understand.
What? Mr. Edgeworth, explain yourself! Your Honor, I have an admission to make. I honestly never thought the defense would pursue the matter this far. You don't mean... Yes, the prosecutor's office isn't filled with fools, you know. Naturally, we conduct full background checks on all of our witnesses. Strangely enough, we still always call the murderer as a witness. It looks like a kid knew. He knew her true identity from the get-go. But then why? If you hadn't revealed her secret, he wasn't going to say anything about it. All he wanted was her testimony, so he made a little trade. Let me introduce you to the victim's younger sister, Miss Dahlia Hawthorne. Oh boy, this theme music is really giving me a headache because I can't remember where I've heard it before. But I thought she died 5 years ago. We thought so as well, but, well, as you can see. Why? Why did she hide her identity for 5 years? That has nothing to do with the current case. She was merely an accidental witness to a crime. Accidental? I don't believe that for a minute. For the last 5 years, she's been playing the role of a victim. And now we find her acting suspiciously at another murder scene. Really, Miss Faye, your strategy is clearly obvious. You're trying to pin your client's crime on an innocent witness in order to win. At any cost.
How dare you?
Please, let us take a moment to think. 5 years ago, this girl was kidnapped and nearly killed. But even worse than that, 5 years later, Dahlia Hawthorne lost something much more precious, her big sister. Miss Faye must be insane to even suggest that you murdered her.
What?
I'm inclined to agree with the prosecutor's logic. Miss Faye, do you have any evidence to back up your assertion? What possible reason would this witness have for killing her beloved sister? Well, you see, I thought I was winning, but somehow he's turned it around on me. I think you need a little push in the right direction, kitten. The defense is prepared to present evidence supporting our claim. That wasn't me. It was this guy. This crazy coffee addict. I think we've heard enough empty threats from you, old man. What makes you think they're empty, boy? Would you stop saying, huh, every few sentences? It doesn't make you cool, it doesn't make you look radical, or whatever fuck you want to use as a synonym for cool. Just shut your fucking mouth! You know, I'm glad that you got poisoned. Yes, I didn't mention it in the previous videos of this case, but yes, this is Diego Armando, the guy who got poisoned shortly after this trial, and supposedly died, but considering he is Godot, it's really... who cares? He's not really dead, that's the problem. Now, if you may remember, Grossberg said that Diego Armando was Mia's boyfriend. I personally think he's wrong. After this case, Mia and Diego got very, very focused on the kidnapping case that Dahlia committed 5 years ago, because they wanted to prove that it was all set up by her and blah blah blah. Fuck it. So they spent a lot of time trying to come up with evidence and all of that. So, Grossberg, in my opinion, simply mistook working together as being in love with each other. I mean, these two are at each other's throats. And it's barely, this is just a few... This is like 6 months before he got poisoned. I'm not saying that, that is no time to fall in love. Falling in love is very easy, which is a problem. But they were too focused on the damn case to really feel anything for each other. I doubt that she actually liked him. She respected him. But I doubt that they loved each other really. Or that they got into a proper relationship. But that's my take on that pairing. Because your protégé looks like she's sweating bullets. I am sweating bullets. As long as you're not flop sweating like Phoenix does, I really don't care. You think you're in a tough spot, huh? Of course! Aren't I? No. You've just arrived at the moment of truth, that's all. Whether you win or lose, that's up to you. Can I just lose so this guy will shut up already? Up to me? The rashness of youth. How charming. This coming from someone younger than me. Now then, let's waste not any more time. Miss Faye? What motive would this witness have for murdering her own sister, Valerie Hawthorne? The story starts after Terry Falls escaped. He called Valerie and told her he wanted to meet. This is the note she left. It says, talk to Dahlia. Tell her this time the whole truth must come out. Valerie Hawthorne gave Dahlia a warning. She told her she was going to reveal to the world the whole truth. The whole truth? There was a dangerously important secret between Valerie and Dahlia. That's the reason Dahlia felt she had to kill Valerie. To keep her mouth shut permanently. A terrific story, Miss Faye. If you like fiction, that is. I think fan fiction writes better cases than the original canon cases of the series, if you want to call it that. Enlighten the court, Miss Faye. What was the secret that was so important? Where's your evidence? Dahlia and Valerie Hawthorne and Terry Falls. There's only one important secret that connects them all.
Well, gee, I wonder what that could be.
Oh, yes, I know the secret. Your Honor, the defense would like to request further testimony.
What testimony?
Regarding the kidnapping 5 years ago, we believe it will explain a lot of things, such as the nature of the important secret between the Hawthorne sisters.
Very well. I know it will be painful for you, but can you enlighten us once more, my little maple leaf?
Maple Leaf? Fuck it. This guy's voice always makes me yawn, and I'm already pretty tired, so screw this. This would be the last time you hide behind your womanly wiles. Says the woman whose jacket barely reaches, a proper length. You know what, just take your shirt off. You're really not showing us any more if you do. I just like that she was made into fan service, okay? Ruins any chance that I might respect her as a lawyer.
5 years ago, I was kidnapped by Mr. Falls. The ransom price was a raw diamond. My sister Valerie brought it to the bridge. After she made the exchange, she shot Mr. Falls in the arm. That's when Mr. Falls tried to kill me by shoving me off the bridge from behind. I survived, but I was afraid I might be kidnapped again for my family's money. So I decided to change my identity and start a new life.
Oh right, I guess this world doesn't have witness protection or anything like that. Even if they did, the police is incompetent. The kidnapping left her emotionally scarred. With her sister's help, she left the Hawthorne family and started all over again. And we're to believe, after all that, she murdered her sister? Preposterous.
Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Miss Faye?
Yes, Your Honor.
As you've heard, the witness is still traumatized from the kidnapping. I'll ask you again to be extremely gentle in your cross-examination.
Mr. Edgeworth got the jump on me again. Yeah, no need to listen to the judge. If we're not allowed to fight, then let's twist some arms. Listen up, we've still got that info. That ace up our sleeve. What info? Come on, kitten. Don't say you've forgotten already. The fact that the kidnapping 5 years ago was staged. Considering I'm simply saying that it was fake, that wouldn't work. Because this law system sucks. Wish I could end these cases early. Yeah, I remember what he said. Thank you very much. Yes, that's it. The fake kidnapping is the best shot, Mia. That's her secret. Did you and Mr. Falls have a relationship?
Yes, as a tutor.
You were tutoring him? Mr. Falls?
No, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. Mr. Falls came to the house to tutor me.
That makes sense. 5 years ago, she was only 14. What? So if she was 19 now, or had been 19 5 years ago, it would have made sense that she tutored him? I don't follow your idea. He probably came up with the kidnapping plan during that time. The Hawthorns are in the jewellery trade and are quite wealthy, you see.
Quite the clever felly, that Mr. Falls.
Did I hear him right? Did he just call Mr. Falls a clever fellow? I heard the diamond is valued in the neighborhood for $2 million. The fuck was that? What kind of lag was that?
It was still uncut, so it was about the size of a pint of milk.
Ew. A $2 million pint of milk. I don't know what to think about that.
The defendant demanded that her sister, Valerie, make the exchange. Not as a detective, of course, but as an individual. She's a policewoman, she doesn't have any individuality. Why do you think he wanted to make the exchange up there on that mountain? If he ever got surrounded, it would be hard to escape. There's one thing a kidnapper wants to prevent, and that's police involvement. In a place like that, it would be easy to tell if he was being followed. But as Mia honestly and correctly points out, it would be easy to set up a barrier at the base of the mountain when he's trying to escape. It's still a shit idea. With only one entrance to the mountain, he was ensuring his safety.
What a wickedly clever man that Mr. Falls is.
Yeah, right. It was all your plan. That was a dangerous thing to do, considering you were being held hostage.
Yes, but actually, that saved my life.
1 second. If Valerie was supposed to do the exchange as an individual, i.e. a sister and not a cop, why the hell was she carrying her gun? I know she did, betrayed them, but still. Nobody seems to wonder about that. Nobody seems to wonder about anything in this game.
Witty bean.
You see, Mr. Falls was holding a knife in his right hand. Somehow, I just knew he was going to use it.
Why the hell else would he have a knife?
I knew he was going to use that knife to kill me. That's why my sister shot him. It was to save me.
I'd like to hear more about what happened right at that moment.
Well, when Mr. Falls was shot in the right arm, he let go of me. I was dazed. I turned to try and run away, but Mr. Falls turned to grab me as well. As I ran past, he and I locked eyes for a second, and he gave me a large, bloodthirsty grin.
Bloodthirsty grin. Oh.
In the next instant,
I advise the court to remember that the river is 18 feet deep and incredibly swift.
I was a strong swimmer, but I was knocked out. When I came to, I had been carried away by the river to a strange place. I'll never forget that day. The crumbling bridge, nowhere to run. Then, just one little shove from behind. That was it. Before my sister could catch me, I fell into the river.
You say that Mr. Falls pushed you into the Eagle River. However, that's hard to believe.
But it's true. I felt a push on my back. I'm certain of it. It was Mr. Falls.
I'm sorry. I guess I wasn't clear enough. I shouldn't have said that's hard to believe. I should have said that's impossible. I don't know if you can tell from my tone of voice by the characters, but I'm actually kind of sick of this case. And the next one is the worst one.
Impossible?
I asked that the court recall the condition of Dusky Bridge, now and 5 years ago. That bridge hasn't changed one bit in those last 5 years. If someone had pushed you from behind as you have claimed, instead of being carried away by the river, you would have been smashed by the bedrock below. Almost certain death. Do you understand now, Dahlia Hawthorne? The very notion that my client pushed you from behind is impossible. Your Honor, this event occurred 5 years ago. Why, for all we know, the water level in the river may have been higher back then. But it's 40 feet from the bridge to the river. A small change in the water level wouldn't have made a difference.
You're right. If the events occurred just as the witnesses testified, then the defendant couldn't have pushed the witness into the river. Young lady, what is the meaning of this?
You see,
Just a moment, Your Honor. It's true that the witness testified that the defendant pushed her into the river. However, she never stated that she fell from the back end of the bridge. What do you mean? After being shot in the arm, it's plausible that Mr. Falls panicked. Therefore, he could have unwittingly pushed her over the side of the bridge.
If that's true, she would have fallen into the river. Well, Miss Hawthorne, is Mr. Edwards' explanation correct?
now that you mention it, I do remember when I fell off the bridge. My skirt got caught on one of the bridge's sidewires.
You can't be serious! It seems Miss Faye's assault has finally reached its conclusion. I'm in a pretty bad mood right now, Edgeworth, so I think I will reach a conclusion by stabbing Dahlia. Believe me, it would have saved everybody a ton of trouble. And by that I am including the next case. Unfortunately for you, this is just the start of Miss Faye's assault. I believe your reasoning went something like this, Mr. Edgeworth. After being shot in the arm, it's plausible that Mr. Falls panicked. Oh my god, stop fucking talking! And just... let me already point out the fucking high banister up here! Not be all, this is what you said 10 seconds ago! Allow me to remind you what you said 10 seconds ago! Courage is the magic that turns dreams into fucking reality! Once again, I'm forced to say that's impossible. Because your flawed logic contradicts the court record. Your Honor, all of the answers are right here in this photo. Take a look at the wires supporting both sides of the bridge. They extend up to about 5 feet off the ground. It would be impossible to push someone off from there. But let's remember the size and strength of the defendant. Wires like this wouldn't be a problem for him. He could have easily picked up a 14-year-old girl and thrown her over. So young and already so forgetful, Mr. Edgeworth. Mr. Falls had been shot in the right arm.
Ooh.
And more importantly, Valerie Hawthorne had her gun trained on him at point-blank range. And she still seemed to miss if her idea was to get rid of this guy who was dating her younger sister. Still stupid! So, Mr. Falls throwing the witness off the bridge? That is clearly impossible.
What is the meaning of this?
Dahlia Hawthorne, you jumped into the Eagle River intentionally.
What? What is...
The fuck was that? Why was there a lion growl?
Yes, it's ridiculous. My sister was there to help me. She had a gun and handcuffs. She could have saved me. Jumping into a raging river like that would have been suicide.
Perhaps. But still, that's exactly what you did. You were probably confident that you could handle the swift current. But even more so, the witness had a much more compelling reason for jumping into the river. Then what was it? What was so important that she'd want to jump into the river? The witness is still alive. This fact alone explains everything. This is why she risked her life by jumping into the rapids of the river. You used too many words, people. 5 years ago, something else disappeared along with Dahlia that day. You know, she wanted to make sure that the diamond wouldn't get lost in the current. Even if she's a good swimmer, she should have just shoved it up her vagina. Or otherwise, you know, somehow could have held better onto it. The item that Valerie brought up the mountain with her, the $2 million diamond. By the way, is it just me who thinks that this should be labeled a pink diamond, not just a diamond? I mean, it isn't see-through. Or it isn't transparent. Colorless, whatever the fuck you want to call a diamond. The $2 million, she was going to keep it all for herself. She forced Mr. Falls to help her fake the kidnapping. At the last minute, she betrayed him and threw herself onto the river, with the ransom tucked away safely in her backpack. Your Honor, 5 years ago, the witness was only 14 years old. Do you really think a 14-year-old is capable of such a demonic plan? Considering she's a total bitch? Yes. This woman is a demon. And there was one more person who helped make a demon out of her. Her sister, Valerie Hawthorne. You mean the victim was involved in the kidnapping plot as well? But she was a detective then. You're saying she participated in her sister's kidnapping? Precisely. I'm sure that it weighed heavily on her conscience for the past 5 years. This is the sole reason behind the victim's murder. What do you mean by that? On the day of the murder, after receiving the phone call from Mr. Falls, Valerie called her sister Dahlia. And then she told her what she was planning to do. Planning to do? She was going to tell the whole truth, as she wrote in her note. That is what sealed Valerie Hawthorne's fate. Why do you have to refer to everybody by their full name? Just call them Valerie or Hawthorne. Or bitchfuck, because that's what everybody is. That is when you hatched your demonic plan to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. A plan that would ensure neither of your accomplices to the kidnapping would talk. Considering one of them was already on death row and was quickly, recaught, it doesn't really matter what she did with him. Who's that, laughing at a time like this? Sorry, it's just hilarious. Witness? Is that you? You amuse me, woman. Miss Mia Fey. You can certainly weave an exciting tale. Naturally, you have the evidence to back it up, don't you? Evidence? Evidence that I planned the kidnapping, of course. That at 14, I plotted it with Mr. Falls and my sister. Well, And one more thing. What happened to the $2 million diamond? If you can provide evidence to at least show that. Well, Miss Fey? I don't know. What a joke. You, Miss Fey. Are you stupid or something? How can I prove a fake kidnapping that happened 5 years ago? I don't even have decisive proof of Valerie Hawthorne's murder.
Well, it seems that we've come to the end. To be honest, the witness's behavior does raise certain suspicions. However, I am forced to reject the assertions made by the defense.
This is why I just want to shoot everybody in this courtroom except maybe for Edgeworth. Stop trying to be overly dramatic. And you shut up too. Without evidence, the trial is over. Who decided that? Your fucked up law system, where evidence counts for everything. Come on now, kitten. Haven't you figured out that you can make your own rules? No? If I try that, people are gonna think I'm stupid for thinking that actual law in this game is actually plausible. It is! It would just make the cases more interesting if you think about it. For example, even if there's no evidence, there's still testimony. That's still hearsay. Or just verbal. On the day in question, Dahlia Hawthorne murdered her sister Valerie. She hid her body in the trunk of Mr. Fall's stolen car and then went to meet with him. Disguised as his sister Valerie. That's what you think, right?
Yes, that's right.
In that case, there's only one answer, right? There's only one person left who can testify about Valerie Hawthorne's murder.
Since there's no proof, there's only one thing left to do. Who is the one person who can testify to the demon's crime? Your Honor, the defense wishes to call a new witness. Silly Mia. The defense never calls anyone.
Only during one case on purpose. But otherwise you'd have no authority to do that.
A new witness?
Yes, we would like to hear the testimony of Terry Falls.
The defendant?
There's only one person that can shed any further light on this situation. Only one person that knows what Dahlia's role in the kidnapping was. Only one person that can say whether the person in the photo is Valerie Hawthorne, or whether it was in fact her younger sister Dahlia disguised as her.
Well, gee! How could he tell the difference between Valerie and Dahlia? It's beyond me.
There's only one person who can solve this riddle once and for all. And that person is Terry Falls.
Why not? The prosecution has no objections.
Very well. Bailiff, bring the defendant to the witness stand.
Doesn't the witness sit right beneath you, Your Honor?
This is my last chance, Mr. Falls. My last chance to establish Dahlia's guilt. You're all I have left.
Well, considering we heard that something happened here that traumatized you, I doubt this is gonna end well. Especially since Dahlia's still walking around and killing.
I don't believe it. No way. Dahlia died 5 years ago. Valerie betrayed me.
Mr. Falls, I don't know what she said to you 5 years ago, but one thing is clear. Dahlia is very much alive. And you were used for $2 million.
That's true.
Mr. Falls, there's only one question I want the answer to. 2 days ago at Dusky Bridge, who did you meet? Was it Valerie Hawthorne, or was it Dahlia Hawthorne?
Dahlia, did you betray me? 5 years ago she promised never ever betray each other.
Terry?
Dahlia, it's true. You are alive.
You don't trust me anymore? That makes me sad.
Tell the truth, the real truth. I believed in you.
I shouldn't need to say it. You should already know. But there's one thing that I will say. My life is in your hands right now, Terry.
I will allow Mr. Foss to testify once and once only. Well then, Mr. Foss, yours will be the final testimony in this trial.
Yeah, I guess this is important, so yes, we need water.
Huh?
Can talk, need water. Oh well, I guess it'll have to be my coffee instead. At least that'll match the way he's probably feeling right now. Darker and bitterer than hell itself. That day, 4 p.m., I stopped the car. I was in front of bridge. She wasn't there, so I waited on bridge. I watched my car from bridge. I never put no body in that car. Finally, one woman came. She stood in front of me. We talked. Then she left. That was Valerie, not my Dahlia.
Mr. Foss, you're covering for her. Do you think she would do the same for you?
That's enough, Miss Fay. His last statement was a fitting way to end the final testimony of the trial.
Well then, Miss Fay, please proceed with your cross-examination.
Is this how you wanted to end, Mr. Foss? Another guilty verdict to go along with your death sentence?
There's only one person who can stop it. You, kitten. I think. Yeah, that was really necessary.
According to the note, the meeting was supposed to take place at 4:30. You certainly arrived early, didn't you?
Hey, I arrive early for interviews and stuff like that, at least 10 minutes early. It was raining. Already dark, too.
You waited on the bridge for 30 minutes? Mr. Foss?
Eagle Mountain. That spot. Strong memories.
Why did he just clam up? Could it be he's hiding something here? You were quite early, so you waited on bridge, correct?
Yeah, I like waiting. I'm used to it. I'm sure he is. Zebra Boy waited 5 years to ask a single question. To find out why a woman betrayed him. To him, 30 minutes must have been like a blink of the eye.
You were watching the car?
That bridge, other side is broken. Nobody can come from there. So, I was watching car. What else were I expecting him to do?
I suppose that's the obvious thing to do, but something's bothering me. I'm getting a feeling of contradiction.
I wonder what's on the other side of the broken bridge anyway.
No one lives there. There's a small shrine up on the mountain, but that's it. Stop lagging!
So when you got to the bridge, no one had arrived, huh? So you waited on the bridge. You're sure of that?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You're sure, huh? Well then I'm sure too, Mr. Foss. I'm sure that you're lying.
Oh, I would love to hear a rationale on this, Miss Fay.
You want to know who arrived at the bridge first? Just look at this photo.
It's perfectly clear. Obviously, the person that came first would be the one at the end of the bridge, right? But that's the victim at the end of the bridge. Precisely my point. In other words, Mr. Falls, you must have arrived at the bridge after she did. Mr. Falls, please don't get so worked up. We just want the truth. I got there around 4 o'clock. It's true. I had somewhere to go. Special place. Did you go to the special place before you went to the bridge? Yeah. It's an old temple about 15 minutes from the bridge. 5 years ago, me and Dahlia, we promised each other. We swore we wouldn't betray each other. She brought a memento to represent our love. A memento? 5 years ago, I hid it under the base of a tree there. It's a special memory from me. This is what I went to get. This little bottle and a necklace is your memento? It's quite charming, but it looks empty. Your Honor, you heard what my client said. He arrived at the scene at 4 o'clock. But he then left his car unattended and walked away. He was gone for approximately 30 minutes. With that much time, Dahlia Hawthorne could have easily hidden that body in the trunk of his car. Indeed, there certainly was enough time for it. I've still got a chance. Mr. Falls, there's no mistaking it. Mr. Falls? That's enough, please. Witness? I promised her 5 years ago, if it ever happens, that we can't trust each other no more, then we're supposed to drink bottle. Stop the trial! Your Honor, we need a recess! I was stupid. Couldn't keep promise. So I did it. I drank this. No! We're so close! Just a little more! I was going to prove your innocence! Don't want that. Don't twist so. Maybe kill again. Kill sweet Dahlia again. Mr. Falls! Thanks for the coffee. You know that's a pretty slow-working poison that Dahlia put in there. And so my first trial ended. Suddenly and tragically. It ended with no winners. Only losers. So Edgeworth's career ended with a loss. Unless she means an emotional one, in which case, what does he care? I ended up with a wound that cut so deeply into my soul, I thought it'd never heal. I'm sure it was the same for the young prosecutor as well. Pfft, he's too shocked with his father's death. What does he care if some witness killed himself? Or a defendant? But one person, the true criminal, Dahlia Hawthorne, she left the courtroom with a secret smile on her demonically sweet face. Unforgivable. That witch. Mr. Armando. We were so close to the truth. It was right there in front of us. If only we had a law system where actual reasonable doubt mattered! You were just a little too soft, kitten.
It's my fault. It's all my fault that Mr. Falls killed himself.
Don't cry, kitten. You're going to make my coffee all salty. Fuck your coffee!
I knew it. I knew I wasn't cut out for this.
Mia. Don't you get it? You can't cry yet. The only time a lawyer can cry is when it's all over. Well, the trial is over, so you'd think I'd be allowed to cry. No matter how tough the case, no matter how bitter the memories, they always fade over time. Then you file them away and eventually forget them. A year later, in this very same courthouse, I myself got wrapped up in that case. Only after that did Dahlia Hawthorne get put on trial for her crimes. The verdict that was ultimately handed down to her was guilty, of course. Naturally, when the verdict was read, she had a perfect angelic smile on her face. It was finally all over. At least, that's what I thought at the time. Unfortunately, I couldn't have been more wrong. It's been 5 years, but now something has happened that's made me remember all this. And that will be explained in the next case, which is my #1 most hated case. I'll see you then!